Hey guys, it's Hayden here from GameDay Squad, and I'm here again to give you my top 5 takeaways from the past week of AFL footy. GameDay Squad is the only Australian fantasy sports platform that uses blockchain technology in the form of player cards that are digital assets that you own. You can buy, sell, and trade these cards with other coaches on our fantasy sports platform. We're still in beta, but we're continuing to add features as we develop them. So check out gamedaysquad.com.au to find out more and also to open your free starter packs and start building your squad. But for now, let's jump into the takeaways. So we always start off by reviewing the takeaway predictions from the previous week. Last week, I thought Tex Walker was going to kick a bag, and that did not happen. Adelaide were absolutely woeful against a really strong GWS. And I definitely bought tickets to the Adelaide show a little early. So I think they've got a couple of tough games coming up, and I am off the train. I'm off the Adelaide train until they show me something different, because I was not impressed with their match against GWS. So takeaway number 1 is that I think the GWS Giants should give Toby Green the solo captaincy. So he currently shares it with Kelly and Cornelio as co-captains, and I don't like it. I don't like 3 co-captains, especially as the captain. Maybe they could be included in a wider leadership group. I think maybe both as vices, but give Green the solo captaincy, because he's their spiritual leader. They play so much better when he's in the team and when he's doing well. Now, don't get me wrong, Toby Green absolutely stuffed up big time in the elimination final last year against the Swans. To make umpire contact, especially late in the game, it was a mind fade. Happens to all of us, the mind fades. Some are worse than others, and that was absolutely terrible. Everybody knows you can't touch the umpires in AFL footy, so bit silly from Green, which cost him obviously the opportunity to play Geelong the next week in another elimination final, and the him being suspended absolutely ruined GWS's chances of winning the premiership last year, in my opinion. So I think if you were to give him the captaincy, knowing that he did that, I think he's the type of player that would really step into that role. I also think it could be good for Toby Green to get the captaincy, because that would give him the opportunity to improve his relationship with umpires. There are so many 50-50 calls in the forward line that especially around the head highs, that are kind of there, that could go either way, that he does not get. And umpires do not like Toby Green, and fair enough. He hasn't been their biggest fan either. So, but I think if he was given the opportunity to actually, go out to the centre bouncers, start building that relationship with them, talking to them more off the field as well, in some of the roles that you have as a captain, I think that would be a really good opportunity for Green and also for GWS, because I think if they are going to win a premiership in the next few years, Green will need to be leading the way. That's just my opinion, but I think he should get the solo captaincy. Takeaway number 2 is that I absolutely love watching Liam Ryan take against. It does not matter what the scoreline is. That could be down by 100 points. You are always at risk of being taken, a hanger being taken on you by Liam Ryan. Every time the ball comes up in the air, as a defender with Liam Ryan hanging around, you are just trying to not be a stepladder to get added to his highlights reel, because he has a few of them. Makes defenders nervous, and actually a big part of his game is he finishes the job a lot of the time too. He's got a nice goal kicking action, and that's a big part of being a forward, is you can take the marks, but if you can't kick the goals, then you're not worth much. So it's good to see that him do that, and he's also really builds into the synergy of the West Coast forward line. I know they haven't done too well this year, obviously, we all know that, but the times that they have done well, Liam Ryan is usually involved in that play that ends up with their several goals for the year. Takeaway number 3 is that Max Gawn is kicking goals like Buddy Franklin, and I love it. He has learned how to actually how to kick confidently. A little while ago, when he was lining up for goals, you just really weren't feeling good about his chances of kicking them. He's obviously done some work on it. He's changed a couple of things. I think more so in his mindset he's changed, because it doesn't necessarily look like his kicking style has changed that much. But as he's walking and taking his shot on goal, you feel confident that he's a good chance of kicking it. Now, Tom and I did a little segment on the player psychology about how goal kicking is a mental game and what you can actually do to get better at your goal kicking. So if you're interested in that, check out that on the GameDay Squad YouTube channel. Should be coming out either later today or tomorrow. But yeah, Max Gawn, he has an interesting step up when he's stepping forward to take his shot at goal. He actually fiddles around with the ball in his hands. Like he's moving it around, swirling it around, and right before he kicks, he kind of snaps it into his fingers and throws it onto the boot. He normally likes to go around a little bit as well, around the mark. But it really reminds me of a step back three in basketball, kind of where, you imagine James Harden going forward, then taking a step back, and then, nailing the three as he does so often. It's kind of a similar thing in my opinion. Like he's kind of twirling the ball around, not focusing too much on it, but trusting that when the time is right, he's going to snap his fingers into action, get his hands in the right place, and follow through with that kicking action. That's obviously working for him. He's focusing on having the big buddy arc where he just kicks the ball high up into the air and kind of let it curve into the direction that he wants. He doesn't really try and punch through the ball, and it's working for him. He's kicked some really tough goals this year, especially from some really hard spots. He's actually come out and said that he hates kicking them from close in and loves the long ones, so I think he's going to try and stick around the forward 50. And if they can sign Luke Jackson for a bit longer, the other ruckman, I think that would be amazing for Melbourne, but also Max Gawn would absolutely love that, because it means that he can spend a bit more time in the forward line, which we all know he loves. And we speak a lot about momentum on this show, and there is nothing more that kills your momentum than a big goal from Max Gawn outside 50 and a real smug celebration. That is an absolute momentum killer, and he does it not every week, but at least every couple of weeks. Takeaway number 4 is that Dusty might be considering a move to Sydney. So the rumour mill was kind of kicking off a little bit this week. You saw little bits and pieces about potentially Dusty's future and whether or not that's going to be at Richmond. He's currently got 2 years to go in his contract, so it ends at the end of 2024. But Dusty actually grew up in Sydney as a teenager. He spent a lot of time there. He's got connections to Sydney. He loves NRL, which you don't get at all in Melbourne. I was actually down there for the Richmond Grand Final in Melbourne, and the very next day, the Melbourne Storm team, after they won the championship, they came out and did a meet and greet in the town centre in Melbourne, and there wasn't many people there, so they don't really care too much about NRL down there, whereas Sydney obviously are massive for it. So we all know that Dusty's father recently passed away, and that's been the big reason for him taking the time off to grieve. And it really would have made Dusty kind of reflect about, his journey so far, and also think about what he wants to do going forward. He was pretty close with his father, so it sounds like it's hitting him really hard. I know he was very disappointed that his father wasn't allowed to come over for the grand final a few years ago. That was always his hope, to get him over. So it's a bit of a sad situation for Dusty. But he's such an iconic player. So for years, he's the first player that you think of when you think of AFL. He's been the kind of the poster boy for the AFL for a while. He has reinvigorated the fend-off. That's infiltrated its way into the community level footy, both in juniors and seniors. There's a lot more Dusty fend-offs happening in the past couple of years than they were 10 or so years ago. But as iconic as he is, he doesn't actually say too much. And he tries to avoid media engagements, which is a pretty smart move, I think. But he lets his footy do the talking, and his footy's pretty good. But during his break away, he's been spotted in Sydney, actually training with Paul Gallen, doing boxing. And yeah, there's been another couple of links to him down at Sydney. The GWS Giants actually tried to get him early in his career. They put an offer to try and get him to GWS, which he turned down. He actually, when he was younger, as a teenager, tried to apply to get into the Sydney Academy, the great Sydney Academy that's produced a lot of superstars, but he didn't, the Sydney Swans Academy, but he didn't actually meet the criteria, which was, I think you needed to have lived there for 3 years in order to gain access. So he just missed out, and if he had gotten in there, he would have been a Sydney Swans player, probably still to this day. But yeah, his manager, Ralph Carr, openly says that Dusty loves Sydney, and the rumours have only gotten louder since Dusty's been away from the game. And I feel like if Dusty was serious about making the move to either, to Sydney and potentially playing for either Sydney or GWS, I'm sure they would both love to have him in their squad. I think Tigers would consider letting Dusty go a year early if that was where Dusty wanted to go and it was related to mental health, mental well-being, saying, hey, I need a change. I want to move out of Melbourne. I want to get out of there. I think the Tigers will honour him to leave maybe a year early from his contract just because of all that he's done for the Richmond footy club. That's what I think they should do anyway if he wants to leave early, because he's absolutely given his all to that club and he is probably the biggest reason why they have won 3 premierships in recent times. Richmond's dynasty was actually one of my favourite dynasties in the past 15 or so years. It's great. It was really exciting to watch them when they were hot, and I think they are obviously suffering from a bit of hangover from that, which is completely normal after you win a few premierships. They're obviously not the same team that they were. A few players are getting older. The synergy's not working as well, and you can just imagine that would have impact on the energy levels at Richmond. So, things are obviously great when you're winning a lot of games of footy, but once you've won heaps of games of footy and you start losing, it's actually really bad for the energy. So I'm not sure about what it's like in there, but you could put it together that maybe things aren't necessarily the best in the Richmond camp, and you could consider, like, Dusty, if he wants to win another premiership, I don't think he's going to do it with Richmond. I don't see Richmond winning another premiership in the next couple of years. I do see Sydney winning a premiership in the next couple of years, especially if they have him as a forward pocket or a forward flank. So he's still got another few good years in him, and I think a move to Sydney would make sense, and the Swans would be very happy with that, but they'd be fighting with GWS to sign him. And takeaway number 5 is that the Lions, my Brisbane Lions, they've confirmed that contender status to Melbourne as the number 2. And it's really disappointing that we don't actually get to see them go against each other until round 15, which is in late June, which, if that's at the Gabba, I'm definitely going to that one. But I think Melbourne's average is better than Brisbane's average. I think that, they seem to be set up a little bit better, that their structures are really good at Melbourne. But Brisbane's best is better than Melbourne's best, in my opinion. The return of Cameron Rayner this year has been massive. He's really stepped his game up to the next level. In order to take it up another level again, he needs to fix his goal-kicking yips, which I actually do think he will in the next 12 months or so. I think that's obviously going to be a focus for him and something that he'll continue to work on. Maybe he should check out the GameDay Squad video on goal-kicking on our YouTube channel. Darcy Fort, the ruckman, was a great pickup because a ruckman that can go forward and kick goals is worth their weight in gold. It was that they needed a second backup ruckman, especially when Stephen Martin was, no longer playing for them, and him and Big O seem to be working quite well together. And now that there might be a couple of weeks out for Danaher with a shoulder injury, not sure where it's all at, gives the option of Darcy Fort going forward. He just broke the world record, which I absolutely hate that term, commentators are using it, of the goals kicked without a behind scored. So he just took the record, kicking goal number 12 on the weekend. So chuck him down forward while Danaher's gone, leave McStay at centre half forward and see what he can do. Give him an opportunity to kick a bag. Zach Bailey, absolute superstar. Love watching him play. Absolutely oozing with confidence. 6 goals the other week, taking his game up another level this year. I really could go on and speak about these guys all day. They've got talent in every single line, and they've got talent actually trying to get into the team. So I think a good mark of a footy team is a team where you've got players on the outside, good quality players, really trying to get in. And at the moment, it's really either form or injury, more so injury, that's going to give you an opportunity to get into the Brisbane Lions team. So players like Cockatoo and Robinson are being left on the outside and they've had to go down to the VFL to prove their worth. So that's a sign of a good team, and I think they'll beat Melbourne. I think this could be their year. If things go right for them, if they make sure they don't get too many injuries, Danaher's a big part of that squad. Hopefully his shoulder's all right. But if they avoid any big major injuries to their key position players, I think they should go on to win the flag this year. But anyway, they've confirmed that they are the number 2 when they beat Sydney on the weekend. Melbourne number 1, Brisbane number 2 sets up for a pretty good grand final, I reckon. And my takeaway prediction for next week is that I think that Brisbane Lions are going to smash the West Coast Eagles by at least 70 points. That's my prediction. I think they're going to absolutely thump them. The same way that they thumped North Melbourne a little while ago. That was an absolute bloodbath. I think this is their opportunity. This is their turn. Richmond got their turn last week. It's their turn this week. So I'm really looking forward to that, watching them absolutely thump West Coast. That's my Saturday night done and dusted. But that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, if you got some value from the content, check out our other videos on the channel. We've got videos about AFL fantasy, NRL fantasy, player psychology. We're going to start bringing out videos about fantasy strategy, how to become a better fantasy coach, which will be really interesting. We've got some really good fantasy sport players in our team, so I'm really interested in hearing from them about how to get better at actually playing fantasy sport, because I'm not that good at it personally, so hoping to get better at it once GameDay Squad gets up and running. So thanks for following, guys, and I will see you in the next one.